Joining us right now to talk about the budget, DOGE, and much more is Congressman Khanna, whose district is in the heart of Silicon Valley. Ro, thank you very much for being here. Why don't we talk, first of all, about what happened last night, this procedural vote in the House for budget approval. It was a close one, but the Republicans were able to push it over the finish line. What comes next?
Well, it was a close vote. They did a late-night maneuver. All the Democrats opposed it, and the reason we opposed it is they have $2 trillion of Medicaid cuts by their own admission, and they want to have tax breaks for very, very wealthy folks. Democrats just don't believe in that. Now we'll see what they get through in the Senate and if they actually go through with this.
Yeah, I guess there were Republicans who weren't in favor. The president was able to call and kind of wrangle most of those votes, everyone save one vote. Many of them wanted to see additional cuts, that this didn't go far enough for them. So I guess I wonder what the Democrats' next move is. If this goes to the Senate, what happens next, and what will the Democrats do to kind of put their opposition forward?
Well, the Democrats will keep talking about the facts, that what this is going to mean is $2 trillion of cuts in Medicaid. What does that mean practically? It means many states will no longer be able to offer Medicaid insurance to a number of individuals. It will mean the closure of hospitals. By the way, Donald Trump won voters under 100,000, so a lot of the people who are going to be most impacted by these Medicaid cuts are his voters. And they also have cuts to food stamps, all to fund tax breaks for very, very wealthy individuals. Look, we don't have the votes to stop this. They can, through reconciliation, get this through the Senate and the House. And then it's for the American people to see whether they really want these drastic cuts.
You know, Ro, that's a populist message that we keep hearing when people come on that I don't think is entirely accurate. And I think it's kind of disingenuous because the 2017 tax and job cuts, I mean, marginal rates went to 37 from 39.6. That affects a lot of people. The standard deduction changed. The child tax credit would then drop from $2,000 to $1,000. And it says right here, approximately 91% of taxpayers would face higher taxes, with the majority being middle-income families being particularly affected, most affected. Anyone making $80,000, a family of four, would see a $1,700 increase in taxes. 91% of Americans would get a tax hike, and then you're also talking about corporate rates going back up. So just to continuously say that it's billionaires that are benefiting is totally false. It's totally disingenuous. And you're also conflating corporations with the wealthy or with billionaires because of the corporate tax cut. Why not be honest? And Democrats I think they could earn some goodwill with people if they were actually honest about what this means. I don't know about the Medicaid stuff. You know, I don't know whether Republicans have settled on that or not. But just the tax cuts themselves benefited everyone across the board. If some people pay more taxes and their marginal rate goes down and they're wealthy, it's true that the actual benefit is a bigger number, but everyone benefited, and 91% of people will get a tax hike.
Joe, first of all, I didn't say it just is going to benefit billionaires, but it disproportionately last time benefited those in the top 1%, as you acknowledged.
That's who pays the taxes, Ro. But that's who pays. Of course, they're going to save more if you lower the marginal rate because they're paying so much more.
Sure, and it disproportionately benefited, benefited the top 10%. Now, we can, in my view, if you want to preserve the tax breaks for the middle class and the working class and work with the Democrats on doing that, there would be an openness to it. But at this point, where working class Americans are struggling, where 90% of the stock market is owned by 10% of Americans, I just don't think we need more breaks, tax breaks for the very wealthy, and especially if it's going to come at the expense of funding for Medicaid and for funding food stamps. And this is the philosophical debate. I mean, do you cut Medicaid insurance, have rural hospitals shut down, have health centers, behavioral health services shut down to further these tax cuts for disproportionately benefiting the top 10%.
Do you raise corporate taxes from, or let them go back to where they were on small businesses, on the job creators of the entire country who pay the taxes for all the things that you want to do, including Medicare? That all comes from the private sector. Are you sure it makes sense to let that go back into the, where would that, what's it go to, 30% or so? Where would corporate tax go, tax rates go if you just let them expire?
Well, first of all, there's one place where we may agree, which is why do we have a corporate tax rate in Mexico and in Canada, and if you go overseas, that is 10%. Whereas if you're a company investing in the United States, you pay 21%. How about we raise the tax rate on the offshore earnings for all these companies that are offshoring our jobs and raise that to 21 or 28%? That would be one place we would get American investment. Now, I don't think the corporate rate has to go all the way up to 35, but we could figure out a compromise position. It doesn't have to stay where it is today, but I would certainly level it between the United States and going overseas.
Congressman, let me ask you about DOGE, because back in December, you had kind of talked about working with Elon Musk and with DOGE. You've changed your tune pretty substantially. I think at this point you think that they are breaking the law. What happened to make you change your mind on this?
Well, he didn't come to Congress, and he's approaching the firing of some of these workers without any rational plan. Look, we had 15 people, many of them Trump voters, talk about how they were fired. People who were veterans who served this country in Iraq and Afghanistan. They called it the Valentine's Day Massacre. They all got an email on Valentine's Day. Many of them had been good performers. They had been top performers, and they just told that their jobs were eliminated. Some were told they were poor performers when they were actually good performers. So there's been no rational plan, and people's lives are being hurt, and many of the cuts, they're not even coming to Congress to discuss them.
So that's your problem with it, mostly that you think that cuts could and should be there, but you think Congress should be the ones deciding that?
No, my main thing is it's not being done in a way that is rational. It's just cut, not looking at people's performance, not looking at what their functions are, not having any conversation with them. And secondly, it's not going after the big ticket items, which are the subsidies to big fossil fuel companies, which is the breaks that we're giving pharma in terms of the buying of medicines. It's the Pentagon, the big five prime contractors. So they're not tackling that. They haven't come to Congress, and they're doing it in a way that is haphazard. That is the way private equity may do it, or the way Elon may have done it with Twitter. But that's not what you can do with the federal government. Have a one-year plan, discuss it with people, have stakeholders do it. Bill Clinton actually did that in his Reinventing Government, where the workforce fell by 351,000 people, but Congress was consulted, and there was a rational plan for it.
Hey, Congressman, wanted to also get your thoughts on the idea of a gold card for immigrants who want to immigrate to the United States and are wealthy enough or prepared to spend $5 million to do it.
Well, certainly a glimpse at President Trump's assessment of value. You know, he looks at things from investment. I guess I just say to him this. I don't think Sergey Brin, who founded Google, or Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai had $5 million in their bank accounts when they came. In fact, I know they didn't. And yet they built trillion-dollar companies. Even if your goal is the maximization of American industry productivity wealth, it doesn't seem to me that just evaluating people based on how much wealth they're going to bring in initially is the right metric, as opposed to their ambition, their industry, their creativity, their productivity.
So does that mean you're against this? And do you believe that it requires Congress to pass any kind of law? Or do you think this is all, you know, all these executive orders, do you think those are fine?
Well, I do think it requires Congress. On the face of it, I haven't seen any proposal, but I'm against it. I also don't understand what this Green Card Plus means. I mean, we have a system where if you invest $500,000, you can get a green card. You're in line for a green card. So what does Green Card Plus mean? Does it mean they go to the front of the line if they have more money versus someone who's been here and working hard and been here for years? I certainly wouldn't be for that. I don't think you should be able to pay money just to get to the front of the line. So we don't have any of the details. It seems like marketing, and it requires Congress, but that's not the type of comprehensive immigration that we need.
Congressman Khanna, thank you.